There's a misconception out there that eating disorders are just diets gone wrong. Is this true? If you obsessively diet, does that mean that you're prone to an eating disorder? Or can you develop one if you've never been into dieting? The answer is different for every individual. I interviewed multiple people with eating disorders and heard their stories and their battles. Because these people were so open with me, I've changed their names for privacy. In short, diets can result in eating disorders, but they're not a surefire way to the disease. As 19-year-old Christina said, "If I wanted to starve myself so that I could be thin, I never would have starved myself, because I was thin to begin with." Hi, I'm Michelle, and today we're going to look at the difference between a diet and an eating disorder, specifically the isolation, rules and rituals, and extremes. Where do you draw the line? Whether it's anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, eating disorder not otherwise specified, EDNOS, or binge eating disorder, eating disorders are all consuming. There is no stopping point. If the symptom usage stopped once the individual reached their goal weight, there would be no illness. But rather, no weight can satisfy the drive of the illness because the illness has nothing to do with food or weight. Recovering bulimic Demi Lovato speaks about her struggle with bulimia in her documentary, Stay Strong. That's the problem with eating disorders, because it's never enough. Like, you can lose all the weight in the world and you would still be sick in the head. For me, it was an obsession of the mind. Eating disorders are different from diets because at their core, they are the only coping skill these individuals have, albeit a distorted one. 22-year-old Rachel talked about the etiology of her bulimia. Her disorder started as a diet gone wrong after her school hosted a mock Biggest Loser competition. At first, it was just a typical diet with exercising and watching what she ate. But as time went on, things started to change. She blew off outings with friends and engrossed herself in her disorder. There was one night in particular where she went out to dinner with a friend and then blew off their after plans to see a movie under the mentality that she had to get to the gym to work out. When her friend asked why she was bailing on her plans, she simply replied, "Because I have to." Here the line between diet and disorder was crossed when her weight loss and distortions interfered with her daily life. She engrossed herself in a cycle of binging, purging, and restricting. It got in the way of social get-togethers and interrupted plans. She said it no longer felt like a diet, but my #1 priority. Likewise, 18-year-old Anne said she would do anything for her eating disorder. In recovery from EDNOS, she can remember hula hooping for 3 hours after school each day. Although her sides were bruised from over-exercising, she couldn't help but to continue. Like Rachel, she had to. The most obvious sign of an eating disorder is the isolation and alienation from one's friends and activities in order to engage in symptoms. The need to engage in symptoms overrides the need to eat. Diets may begin as a way to lose weight, but if the dieter's health is called into question, they will stop. Yet to the individual with the eating disorder, that is out of the question. And interesting, when the girls I interviewed talked about their experiences, whether it was anorexia, bulimia, or EDNOS, they all used the same phrase, "because I had to." 17-year-old Claire is in recovery from anorexia, and she commented upon what it was like for her. "I remember doing the craziest things. If someone asks you, 'Why are you doing it?' I would have no answer. I didn't understand why I needed to pour milk down my boots or put kiwi in my pocket. I didn't understand why I poured my Ensures into plants or down the sink, or skipped class to engage in symptoms. I missed so much of my life because I was wrapped in the lies of my eating disorder." This is the next difference, when the individual continues to engage in symptoms despite rhyme or reason. Beth Bollinger, a contributing author to the Gale Encyclopedia of Mental Disorders, wrote, "The common denominator is that these patients apparently can believe they can control their world by controlling their food intake." Eating disorders are a coping skill to deal with the difficulties of daily life. To their non-disordered, their behaviors might seem irrational or often absurd at times. Going back to what Claire said, she would pour milk down her boots to stop herself from drinking it. Even more, she would throw food out her window to stop herself from eating it. Anne and Christina both admitted their fear of washing their hands with soap under the mentality that the soap was hidden calories. They believed it would seep into their skin, causing them to gain weight. Looking for weird rules and rituals like this is a great way to recognize eating disorders. They may move food around on their plates, visit the bathroom shortly after meals, cut food into small portions, or tell enthralling stories during meal times. In fact, eating disorder individuals are the best storytellers because they divert everyone's attention from what they aren't eating. In addition for looking for rules and rituals, it's important to look for extremes. Individuals with eating disorders are perfectionistic until their illness leaves them unable to function. Maria Hornbacher explains in her memoir, Wasted, a memoir of anorexia and bulimia, the extremes taken within an eating disorder. Bear in mind, people with eating disorders tend to be both competitive and intelligent. We are incredibly perfectionistic. We often excel in school, sports, artistic pursuits. We also tend to quit without warning. Refuse to go to school, drop out, quit jobs, leave others, spend all our money. Both dieters and distorted individuals have that drive to be thin. However, in the disordered, it goes beyond the food. They need to be the best at everything they do. They're in youth group, do volunteer work, have part-time jobs, and are in activities like sports or theater, all the while getting good grades to get into college. But they will drop everything in order to engage in symptoms. For example, Anne dropped school musicals after 6 years in order to allow time to binge and purge. Danielle woke up between 2:30 and 3 in order to exercise because her disorder was telling her she wasn't working out enough. If you feel yours or your friends' behaviors are getting out of line, please tell somebody. A parent, coach, friend, teacher, or principal. The girls I interviewed all said that if you want to go on a diet, to speak to a health professional. In line with the National Eating Disorder Awareness Week theme this week, everybody knows somebody, whether you know it or not. I invite you to look for the signs. Speak up. You might just save a life.